we're switching gears. We're going to talk a little bit about something that's on a lot of our minds, and it's retirement. Bruce Sellery is here. Yeah. I love that Money Sense has paired up with TD Bank to see, you know, what you can do for baby boomers who are thinking about retirement, is on their mind, and you've come up with some things to sort of allay some of the fears. Okay, so you're saying rethink retirement.
Rethink retirement. There's a lot of stereotypes out there.
Yeah.
If you believe the advertising, I'm going to look like George Clooney and spend my golden years touring around Tuscany in a roadster. That's what the picture is. But people need to think about what they want versus what their parents did or their parents want for them, and also acknowledge that there could be some changes. So you've got this vision for your retirement, and things can happen. Your health may not unfold as you hope it will. Your marriage may not unfold as you hope it will, either because of the loss of a spouse or a divorce or something like that.
That's true.
People predict they will work for a certain period of time, and sometimes you can't or your employer won't, right? So work doesn't unfold that way. And then the last one, especially for boomers, is kids. So there's a lot of kids either boomeranging into the basement or knocking on the master bedroom door and saying, "Can I have $50,000 for the down payment on a house? I know you're going to have to withdraw that from your retirement fund and you'll be living on my couch." But these are the kinds of things that you need to have be aware of.
Right, because we can't predict all of that.
We cannot.
A lot of us are putting a lot of stock in our homes.
Yes.
So what do we need to think about when it comes to our homes and retirement?
Here's a couple of things to rethink, right? Because when it comes to your home, that is a big expense. Even if you're mortgage free, you've got utilities and taxes and maintenance and all that stuff. So you could downsize early. I mean really early, like in your early 60s. And why that can make sense is you can free up capital to then use to spend in other ways. So we have these friends in Calgary. They sold their house, moved to a tiny little apartment above a shop, and they now house sit through the winter so they can spend 3 months living in Europe. They have no expenses. So that's an example of downsizing early. For some families, they've made a lot of money on paper living in a major urban center. And if they were to sell their home earlier rather than later, they might be able to take a significant amount of money and put it into an investment that would pay them some cash and give them more spending money. So it goes back to what's really important to you and what do you want. And for some people, they're willing to leave the family home earlier rather than age in place.
Oh my goodness, that's such a good idea.
Yeah.
I'd never thought about that.
Yeah.
Okay, you're saying you can also think about upsizing.
Upsizing.
So what does that mean?
So this could mean buying a bigger family home so that you can have multi-generational living. So you could have an apartment in the basement for the family and you live in the splendor of the upstairs, right? Not the other way around. Or you could buy a home with rental income. So you could say, listen, I want some retirement income here. I'm going to have a home that does that. And then the third option, which you're starting to hear a lot more about, is communal living. And it's very Scandinavian. It's basically you and me wearing track pants, you know, into our 80s. But having people live communally in a way that they can support each other, have that social interaction, and maybe bring in one personal support worker to deal with you, me, Claire, and Nanny, you know, and we'll all play bridge every single night. And that one person, Claire, will cook for us, and I'll handle the books. It's perfect.
And I'm just going to read books.
You're going to read books.
That's what I'm going to do. While you do the money and she does the
Leo
cooking.
can shingle the roof.
Perfect.
Perfect.
It's so funny thinking, you really have to know who you are, because right now I'm in a time in my life where if you ring my doorbell, I will crawl on the ground and hide and turn off every light.
Right.
So obviously communal living would not be for me, but you have to think about who you are and what you can manage, because I like that as a concept.
It's just
not for me.
It's not for you.
No.
Maybe it will be when you're older.
Maybe.
I could be helpful to you in your dotage. I could be.
Maybe.
So here are a couple other things to rethink when it comes to your home. Maybe you want to sell the cottage. So some people have this cottage. It was a great place for family events. It's not that place anymore, and you could unlock capital to use in retirement, or move to the cottage. And with the savings of selling your city place, you can install some, you know, seniors associated safety kind of features, things like that.
They're emotional decisions.
They're so emotional. One of the places where there is emotion is about renting versus owning.
So let's talk about this, because you are somebody who advocates for renting if it works for you financially and from a lifestyle perspective.
And that is countercultural for a lot of people. But when you look at it financially, if you have $1 million home in a major center together and you sell that home and put that money to work in an annuity or something, and you've got $6,000 a month that you can actually live and play with, that could be really great. If you're a single person living in $1 million home, it might not make sense. So even rather than downsizing, you could rent something right in the heart of the city, but maybe rent something different as you move on in your retirement days. So it's worth considering. It's definitely not for everybody, but what we want to do is have people think about and rethink about some of the assumptions that they've made, in particular on home.
Don't necessarily just write off renting right away.
No.
Don't do it. Working in retirement, also getting a lot of more attention these days.
For a couple of reasons. First is income, so you can delay the time at which you start drawing down your nest egg. And second, engagement. Now, my parents, they're both in their early 80s now, but they worked into their 70s. And what they did was they worked longer and less frequently. And they were both in industries where you could do that. I don't know if you and I are going to be working into our 80s doing what we're doing.
Who's going to hire me at
I don't
80?
even know who's going to hire me. I don't know, but we'll do our best.
We're going to try.
Shift to a new career. And I've been talking to a bunch of retirees who, in the last couple of years of their traditional career, they're looking at what that next thing will be. I know someone who's certified as a life coach. Someone else is going to become a golf pro. So think about that.
That's exciting.
Not just for the, it's totally exciting. It's a new and could be a new and fantastic phase of life.
Yes, I love that. It can be an emotional minefield when it comes to retirement, I know. So how do you find a balance between the money and all of those emotional decisions that we're being asked to make?
Be aware that this question, just the question, may push you outside of your comfort zone. So people are thinking, are you implying that I'm past my prime? What exactly are you saying when you're talking about retirement? But be willing to dream a little bit and think big about what that next phase could look like. I am lucky that I have some great people in my life who are seizing this retirement phase with vigor and passion. And those are the people that I aspire to emulate when I'm no longer drawing a regular paycheck. So even though it might push some buttons, it might even create some tension in a couple, because two people might not want the same thing. Have that conversation, because that conversation drives all the boring financial stuff.
It's an ongoing conversation with me and Leo, because he wants a farm with goats, and I don't feel like I'm a goat farm girl.
Live with me communally. Instead.
Maybe that's what I'm
Ditch
going
the
to do.
goats. You go to him on the
with
weekends. You stay
goats.
with me during the week.
Yeah, it's his dream.